Can you talk about Tobias Harris and what he's brought to your squad this season?
I mean, there's the first thing that comes to my mind. There's a class and there's a grace how he handles himself. There's an emerging leader. I think we all forget he's 26 years old. It's young by any standard. And I think that he's got an offensive firepower, especially when you have your full squad with John and Ben and so on. That that sort of other target, when those two get the attention that they get, can produce. He's a great teammate. He's like elite human being, and I don't know. I just think he's fantastic to have in the organization.
How do you wind him up though, so you get the aggressiveness he had against the Knicks, and not maybe what he had against Cleveland?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that's on me, trying to put him in positions where we can feature him. We all get tonight. You're playing this afternoon. You're playing against like an A-plus elite team that is amping up for the playoffs. Their last game against Denver, when you're watching it, like there's not many deficiencies. And to your point, just trying to help him get freed up. It's no secret like where people are going to go after and feel like they got to shut down with the group that we have at the moment. And whether that's bringing him off multiple screens, making him a real focus on secondary action, second side action, and then just tapping into that mindset, which might be the starting point that you're referring to against the Knicks, which is true. And the accumulation of both of those things, I hope, can help, get him going. We certainly need him to score if we're going to win tonight.
With Ben and Joe out, do you look at Tobias to kind of be a little bit more vocal with the group?
I mean, I'm looking at sort of what is played out to be kind of like a big three. I think J. Rich, Al, and Tobias, whether it's scoring, whether it's a voice, whether it's defense, whether it's keeping the boat afloat, it's a holistic leadership, scoring, defense, game plan. It's all that. And you need all that. Like this road trip that we're on, starting with today's game, and then you got the Lakers. You're going against, in those two especially, that's royalty. Like that's championship able teams, and those three, to me, I've got to help, and they got to go to a higher place in order for us to steal some wins on the road.
Even though it's only 2 games, I mean, is there more comfort you have now playing with what you have, at least for the time being? Like, does even 2 games kind of help you figure out what you've got to do with what you have at the present time?
I don't know if I'd use the word comfort, but the more you do this, the more aware you are of where you're good and where you need to work. I think the notion of you're going to be without Ben longer than you're going to be without Joel, again gives you a greater sort of vision line of what you need to do and what you have to expect. It still ends up, how do you take, for me, it still ends up, how do you take the environment, the situation that we are clearly in, and move the team forward and find a positive lining to grow other people. And so when you absorb, you get Ben back, you get Joel back, that it's not, a rocky thing, that there's a level of a transition that's quite smooth, and other people, the players have reaped the benefit of additional responsibility / opportunity. That's how I sort of see this whole thing, and it starts, the few games that you just mentioned. It's deeper than that to me. Like that's the path, that's the plan that I think I have to help put them on.
Hey, Coach,
does that include like possibly bringing Al permanently back in the starting lineup?
I mean, of course, like when you don't have Joe and Ben, you're obviously leaning on him. Where that plays out when everybody gets back, I don't know. But what I do know is I got to help him, put him in the situations where he can do the things that we've seen Al Horford do. Once everybody gets healthy and whole, where it ends up, who knows? But what I do know is now, and now equals the things that I have just said.
Coach, could you elaborate?
Pat Bev, they've struggled without Pat Bev this year. Without Patrick Beverley, they've struggled. As an opposing coach, when you game plan for him, what is it about him that really elevates their game?
I mean, it's just he's a pit bull. He's a stalking, harassing, physical, cocky guard. And I say that with tremendous respect. And, you know, everybody needs something in the program that has that bite. And, you know, he has that. And it's a role that, you know, other people feed off. It's a role that can bring a championship caliber, quality type of team together. And, you know, from afar, I've always just respected his tenacity and his toughness. And, you know, I can see how and why he would be missed when he's not with them.
Hey, Coach.
How do you coach against that? When you tell your guys dealing with a character like that?
Coach against who?
Patrick Beverly.
I mean, you know, you just expect him to be at you. Like you expect him to try to get under your skin. You expect him to try to disrupt the game. And, you know, there's a sort of like laser type focus. You got to sort of have a higher vision line and not see it. You got to like be above it. And it's just, you know, I say all this with respect. Like, he's really good at what he does. And, you know, to compete against it, some of those things I feel like you have to have in the back of your mind.
Would you elaborate on the
more
veteran
guys.
leadership that Al Horford has brought to your team this year?
I mean, it's stuff that nobody would see on a stat sheet. You see him on a team bus talking to Matisse. You'll hear him in a locker room say, "Coach, I got something to say," and say it, and people listen. You'll come back to a timeout and you'll see him holding court about a defensive mistake, a rotation that we should have had, a shared experience in his years in the league, you know, to offer to the group and everybody. It goes on and on and on. And, you know, there's a poise, there's a grace that he too handles himself with. And I think that, you know, I knew about it or you heard about it before you had him. Now that he's in our living room, you see it daily and it's repetitive.
Thanks, Brett.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
How are you, Mom?